empowered women empower women, beautiful things happen. Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Global Women in Leadership Conversation Series. I'm Aparna G. Kumar, the Global Chairperson for Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment of GCPIT and a host for this beautiful evening. Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in the COVID-19 World. This is the theme for International Women's Day 2021. We are going through extremely challenging times and we are in the midst of a global pandemic. And we are witnessing that many businesses are closing their doors permanently. Our employees are struggling. They are stressed. They are afraid. They are worried about their health. They are worried about the ability to provide for themselves and their families. But we are required to soldier on. Budgets have to be managed. Sales targets have to be met. And difficult decisions have to be made to ensure the ongoing viability of our organization. We can sometimes get stuck in either the network in our brain that enables that task-focused attention needed to solve problems, or in the other network that facilitates reflection, compassion, and social connection. What do we do as leaders in this tough situation? To tell us more, we have a very special guest with us today who is a highly acclaimed, powerful speaker on emotional intelligence and women empowerment in the global market. He is a recipient of many national and international awards for conducting successful workshops across the world in United Nations, Geneva, London, Bahrain, Amsterdam, India, Nepal, China, Paris, Portugal, and Prague. Her contribution towards education and society has been recognized by the World Book of Records UK. She is serving as the Honorary Vice President of Global Goodwill Ambassadors. She is the chairperson of All Ladies League, Women Economic Forum, Ambassador Female Wave of Change, and Daylands Watches. She was featured on the cover page of Elite Business Women's magazine and Wow India. She has been interviewed on radio, TV, and various magazines as global inspirational educationalist. She firmly believes that education and empowerment are the strong pillars for developing a progressive nation. And education is a continuous mission of her life. She is now one of GCPIT's 100 chosen global women leaders and also the winner of Global Women in Business Awards 2021. Let me proudly welcome Dr. Ruby Bakshi-Kurdi to the show. Welcome, Dr. Ruby.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aparna. I'm really honored to be on this platform.
I have been following you since we met in last November, and I can see you have built a personal brand for yourself. You are a consistent performer and continuously have been wearing multiple hats in your journey towards changing this world. We are really honored to have you with us today. Can you tell us where did your journey start?
Well, to begin with, I always say it's the situations that make you stand. It's the situations, the challenges in life that make you be what you are. Because when everything is good, you're always smiling, stomachs are filled and everyone is happy. But it's only when it's crisis, you need to strike. And you have to strike in such a way that you, even if you're not successful or even you taste failure, that should not deter you. So my journey here in Switzerland began with something like this when I came here to be, to carve a niche for myself, to have an identity for myself, because, when you are in a foreign country, you don't know what you have to do and how you have to do. I was just going on an impulse that I have to do something which is distinct. I have to do something which is creating a legacy. And that's how the journey began in terms of, as an educationist, in terms of, giving education, imparting education, and making sure that it is reaching in the right way to the right people. My journey has been consistent, as you rightly said. The awards, the recognitions were never something that I had been looking for. But when it came, it makes you feel confident that yes, probably your efforts are being noticed and you are in the right direction. So I'm just going on and on to do something for the betterment of the society in general.
Great. And as I mentioned in the intro, the whole world is going through an emotional roller coaster, right? Mm-hmm. We are talking about women leadership. As an expert in emotional intelligence, can you tell us what is emotional intelligence, first of all, and how important it is to have emotional intelligence, especially in our journey towards a global leadership role?
Very rightly said. It's only during crisis that we actually understand what needs to be done and how to hold back our emotions, like not having too much excitement, not having too much of a self pity, or going down or being depressed and things like that. So as a layman, emotional intelligence is something that you all have within you. Every one of us has, but some of us have in more abundance the emotional quotient, and some have less. So it can be understood as two main competencies which every person has, that is the personal competency and social competency. So only when you are very comfortable with your own self, you are at peace with yourself, you know what is the mission of your life, how to go ahead, what all things you need to take care into consideration when you are leading a life, whether it's your personal life or your professional life. You have to have the harmony. So that is your personal competence. And once you're at peace with your personal competence, you understand how things are happening, how things are going. You need to connect with the people, that is the society at large. And that is your social competence, how you as an individual is connecting with the people on first your self, your immediate circle, and then with people in the outer circle. So personal competence and social competence, when they are together, when you find the right kind of balance between the two, that is how you are able to practice more of emotional intelligence, and you're at peace and giving or spreading peace around yourself. And as you
Okay.
just mentioned, you mentioned in pandemic, how we can practice this more is, trying to see how much of a a balance you have with yourself. Like during this pandemic, how you can not be a person who's like cribbing or feeling sorry about it's going wrong, I can't do this, I can't do that. So if you're just counting on I can'ts, then you're going to go even more down. So pandemic is all about how you are able to balance these I can'ts to I can do, I have to do. So how much of a perseverance you are trying to push yourself to all extremes to have the best, or to make the best of those not very good conditions. That's to manage emotions, and that's how you can practice and be a better person by practicing and working on your emotional intelligence all the time.
I heard you talking about how you were preparing your team for the when the lockdown happened, how you were.
Yes.
No, can you tell us how you handled the situation?
As an educationist, with my other co-professors, we were always trying to keep things very subtle, not hit the panic button, because it's normal, with international students, especially coming from different countries. They were all stressed, they were all scared, even if they are grown-ups, 18 years and plus, but they were like all the time very nervous. So our methodology was to have a smile on the face and make them feel you are safe. Try to create a safe learning environment first. So the students who were here in Switzerland, we were trying to make their best by having good emotional connection with them, and the students trying to see how best we can reach out to them, how best we can make them feel that they are safe, they don't have to worry about anything. It's okay. We will be recording the sessions even if they are far away. We'll be making sure that they don't miss on the physical classes. Despite the fact that they are there, we will make sure that they are in cushioned hands. And of course, with our core team of professors and management, we were undergoing training programs, and learning different things, how we can manage, what we can do, so that everyone is comfortable, even if inside everyone was not comfortable. Everyone was going through so much unforeseen things, bad internet connection. Even here, even in a developed country like Switzerland, we did face bad internet connection, Zoom calls cutting out, Teams call cutting out, whatever platform you were using, because everyone was on those platforms. So it was sometimes a bit of a mess. But despite that fact, we were connected with our students, we were connected with other people, to make sure that it's okay. it's an internet connection, it's bad problem of virtual platform, but don't worry, it's all under control. So yes, during all these times, all I was going through was not all the time smile on my face. Even I went through a roller coaster, as you just said, Aparna, of emotions. There were some days that I was happy, and there were some days I was frustrated, even I was angry because things were not happening the way I had planned. But then at the end of the day, I was like, how much I have to achieve? So I started doing that to-do list. Every day I was keeping list of 5 to 6 things that were to be achieved on that day. So if by the end of the evening I had all the ticks, I was happy and I was like, okay, mission accomplished. But if at the end of the day I didn't have ticks on all the 5 or 6 points that I had mentioned, I was like, okay, carry forward, fine. At the end of the day, I'm a person, I can't do everything, but that should not be bothering me, that should not be making me upset, or that should not be making me sad. And this was on a professional level which I was doing, and on a global level, during this journey, when I met you, when I became a part of your wonderful family, I enjoyed being on this platform because I learned so much from you guys. I learned from so many other platforms at how we were all like a small family, global family, but connected. So it was just all over. Wherever I felt we could give to the society, giving back to the society. I think pandemic has made the global world smaller, because all like-minded people, they came together, and wherever we could give, wherever we could be of some help to other people, we connected, and then the rest is history. We are all still on the good platform. We are connecting and giving to the people as much as we can.
Exactly, I totally agree with Ruby. We have been connecting with a lot of people, and everybody has been giving back to the society. That is the main thing I found. And as you said, like minded people came together. I think this can do real wonders. And I heard your TED talk about learning human values via emotional intelligence. And now TEDx had recommended your talk. And when technology is enhancing the quality of life of kids, how
Mhm.
you were talking about that in the session, but for our audience, how can you tell how important it is to teach our kids strong values and develop their critical thinking and emotional intelligence as well?
That's a very, very good question. I think the audience is going to love it because the need of the hour is that people should have strong values, especially human values, because this is kind of going away. World is becoming so much digitally advanced that some of us are becoming more and more wedded to these appliances, these digital appliances, so much that we are forgetting the people who are next to us. So it all began like when I first gave my TEDx talk. The theme was superhumans. So I thought, why not club it with something which is human as well as man-made? So I thought about emotional intelligence and human values, because both are a good combination if managed properly and in balance. Excess of anything, whether too much of technology or excess of too much dependent on man-made things, could sometimes be having a clash. So it's at the end of the day, everything is man-made. We are making it, so we better know how to control it as well. So as parents, especially settled abroad, I it was a very conscious decision that I should be making my children aware of our rich Indian culture, the rich values, the cultural values. So it started, when my kids were born, with something I was doing at home, something in our, I would say, religious ceremonies, our cultural festivals and things like that. And then I started doing it with my friends, let's celebrate festivals. And at the same time, whichever festival it was, we would make sure that we are teaching our kids, why do we celebrate Diwali, or why do we celebrate Holi, or what is some of the chants, like, when people are doing yoga or chanting, it makes so much peace. So I decided with my friends, why not try to answer these whys of our children? Because for everything, these small kids, they want to know why are we doing it? So initially it started with my children, with our friends' children. And then when I saw that there is a need, there is a demand, that people want to know, people want to connect, when we started sharing pictures, some of the people, they would take and share the videos. So then even the local community showed interest. The place where I live, the commune, they offered me a place where I could teach shlokas. where I could do Bal Vikas classes. And it was a wonderful experience, because even though it's called Bal Vikas, but we had women who were much older. They said, can we attend? Because it's very nice when we hear you chanting. They would just go from outside and hear it. So I said, yeah, it's all about, what connects with you. And that's where human values, come into picture. The more you connect, the more you say something that brings some value to the other person, in terms of evolvement, in terms of mindfulness, whatever you're doing, enjoy at that moment. So, and at that point of time, I was really loving doing, I was preparing for my TED talk, and then I started doing all these activities. I used to conduct these Sunday schools where I was teaching these values, and then my kids, they started getting their own friends to the group. So what started as a home and private activity became a social activity, where we started connecting and bringing it open to anyone and everyone. It's not just for people from certain communities. It's like a community event. Anyone who wants to come can join, because even though we are advancing in terms of technology, we have to have the connection, which is human connection, and knowing the cultural traditions. So it's not just about the Indian. It started with anyone and everyone. If it's an Italian festival, they would share their things. If it's something about Albania or Greece or Saudi Arabia, anything and everything, whenever it was some festival, we started exchanging the values, what binds us all together. And that's how we are evolving, and it's doing really well, and I'm very proud of it.
That's amazing. I've been seeing pictures and now I heard the story as well. It's really an amazing thing you are doing. And you have also this Biscuit series, right? So what was the inspiration behind that to start the Biscuit series?
Well, Biscuit series was something to document what our children are going through when it was pandemic. It was, I think, in March, April 2020. I just decided, because at that time I was writing my thesis, how we can make our classrooms more interesting, what we can do. So at that point of time, I thought, why not document what the children in the age group of 5 to 15 years are going through, through these video series. So I call it Whiz Kids, because I wanted to make them feel that they are special and their voice matters. Their whatever they are thinking, we want to listen, and I want the world to know what they are feeling. So when I gave this platform to the children, 5 to 15 years olds, the parents were very happy, and they said, what do they need to prepare? What can they say? I said, nothing. I just want them to be candid, tell us how they are feeling. What are they doing during this time when they're at home? Because it was for the first time, children all over the world, they were at home. Some of them were really having classes, virtual classes, and some were not, because infrastructure was not prepared. So what I started just for people in Switzerland, then I opened up to the world. I had people from UK, from India, from States, from Singapore, from different countries who joined in to share their experiences. And for the older people, older kids, I would say 18 and 25, I created a document on a Google document, and I shared like a questionnaire with them, which I shared on LinkedIn. I gave a questionnaire where I wanted to write an article, because I wanted to provide two different platforms, because when kids are older, they already feel that we are accomplished. They have do's and don'ts clear in their mind, that we don't want to do this, we want to do this. So I had these two things which I did parallel, which at that point I just wanted to document 2020. And now that recently I published my very first book.
Yes, so, I was. That was my next question. Yes. So you're a proud published author. Yeah. Tell
yes.
us about the book.
Yes. I'm very, very proud of it. So this Whiz Kids series and the article that I wrote for LinkedIn, they were instrumental in leading to this book as well. So whatever I went through, whatever I was seeing my peers, my other co-workers and colleagues going through globally, I wanted to have like not just a document, but something that people can learn. People can learn from what is good and what is not so good. So when I was just penning down all those things, some of my friends said, why don't you put it in a book? And I was like, right, book, I don't have time. I can't, I mean, whole 2020 have been given so many webinars and things like that. I don't have time to write a book. So they said, no, whatever you are doing, just keep on writing, and it will be something. It will be something that will help the trainers and educators all over the world to understand, how we can make virtual learning interesting. So the book is about how to engage learners in a virtual learning environment, because now everything is virtual, and we have to do something to make it fun and interesting. We don't want that our children are falling asleep or they're dreading to go to the classrooms, whether it's through Google Hangouts or through Zoom or whatever. So in this book, I have shared the experiences and the research that I did when I was doing my thesis from University of Derby, UK. So that research plus the methods that I followed and the trainings that I got from my university during this period, I have tried to pen it down, some of my own experiences, so that it is a win-win, and it's something that's going to help society as large, what they can do to make their sessions, whether it's a training session, whether it's for the corporates, it's for everyone. Because some of the people did ask me, is it just for the teachers? I said, no, it's for everyone, whoever is using virtual platforms for giving their sessions, how they can make it fun, that your clients are happy, they don't fall asleep, or they don't feel it's just yet another boring session, but something to look forward to and learning as well.
Yes, for the information of the audience, the book is How to Engage Learners in Virtual Learning Environment, a Shift in Paradigm Due to COVID-19, right?
Exactly, yes.
On Amazon.
Exactly.
So many activities, and how do you balance your work and life and all these activities?
As I said, like when like-minded people get together, it's learning is fun, and it becomes your mission of life. And everywhere I say education is the mission of my life, I want to educate not just in terms of degrees and university qualification, but educate people in general what to do and how to do and enjoy it. So this is something that I'm enjoying. As I said, nothing was planned. Even my TEDx talk was not planned. I becoming a keynote speaker was not planned. It's just I've been an educationist, and I've just been doing my duty. I'm playing my role as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter. So I've been playing, as you said, wearing different hats all the time, and I enjoy doing these things. But when you're passionate about something, you just take out time to have the right balance. And I think it's not about I or me, it's about us. And only when you have the good ingredients of a supportive family, a supporting husband or a partner who's there with you 24/7, who understands you, you have supportive children, if you are a mother and if you have supportive children, I think it just adds on, and in my journey, my parents also have been very, very strong pillars of support, because they were in India and I was here. So I was all the time very much stressed about them. And they said, what can go wrong? Already the whole world is going through this crisis, So if we just take care of our own things, if we just manage our own things, it's going to be fine. As you teach emotional intelligence, please practice it.
Right.
So my parents were telling me this, that you are telling emotional intelligence to everyone. What about you? You don't have to worry about us. We are good. We are taking care of what we need to do. So I think if you have a good balance of both personal and professional things in hand, then you're safe to go. And as I said, if you're a passionate person and you care about something which you are like madly into it, I want to do this, and on top of that you have the good support of a good network, things become easy, and then it's possible. Anything and everything is possible if you believe that you can do it.
Right. That was amazing talking to you. A lot of questions to ask, but since the time is very less, let me ask you, what advice would you like to give to the next generation of female leaders?
I would just like to tell all the leaders that you are a leader. You are already a leader. So just believe in yourself. And if you believe in your own passion, like you are into something, just go for it. Just keep on looking at it. Do not look left or right. Just look straight. And if you are passionate, nothing can stop you. And never think about giving up, because if you think about giving up, then it's your own will. Nothing can change. So you need to be strong, rely on yourself. Don't underestimate yourself that you are weak or you can't do it. You are a leader. You are an accomplished woman. Okay. You just need to believe that you can do it, and just go for it and give it your best shot. And don't have any expectations. That's very important. Never have any expectations. Of course, you should have your goal set. I want to do this. You should have your to-do list. Don't think too much in advance, because sometimes if it's not met, you become disheartened, or when expectations don't meet, it hurts. So do not have any expectations. Go with zero expectations, and sky should be the limit. Like, just keep on going. Let not things deter you. The people saying bad things, or the society not appreciating your things, don't think about anything. Just keep going, and you will see that you'll be very successful in your own way. You'll feel accomplished, and you'll feel happy about it.
Great. And how would you feel being in the list of GCPIT's 100 global women leaders?
Oh, I'm in top of the world. When I was told that, I was like, oh my God, I was so happy when Santoshji shared that news. I was like, wow, because it was not expected. We were just part of your global webinars, and I just loved seeing such empowered women all the time. It was so energizing. And when this news came almost a week back, I was in top of the world. I was so happy, because, it's a recognition, it's top 100, the words, they energize you. Whether you make it or you don't make it, we always think that we are together, powerful women are together, the leaders are together, and that's energizing and very empowering. So I'm really happy, and I'm proud of this.
Great. Congratulations, and you really deserve it. And we are celebrating the Global Women in Trade Summit 2021 on March 5th, 6th, and 7th, where women entrepreneurs and leaders will be connecting to explore the next level of growth. And on March 8th, on International Women's Day, 100 amazing women will receive the Global Women in Business Awards 2021. So what message would you like to give for this Global Women in Trade Summit 2021?
To all the women, to all the people across the world coming together on March 8th, that's International Women's Day, just enjoy the moment. Just live in the moment, because 2021, March 8th is never going to come back. So live in the moment. Give it your best shot. Whatever you are doing, try to enjoy. As I said, don't have any expectations that I have to be there, or I have to win this, I have to win that. Just enjoy the moment. Give it your best shot, and give it to the society as well. As I say, don't have the expectations. Don't do something thinking I have to get this award, because these awards, these recognitions are good. But if they become your objective, then it is not good. You should just do something selflessly, because when you do selflessly, you enjoy and you feel more accomplished. So all the best to everyone. And I wish to see all of you on March 8th virtually, again with this fabulous platform. And I'm looking forward to it.
That was amazing talking to Ruby. Congratulations once again. And it was great to have you with us today. And I really, really enjoyed the conversation. Wish you all the best in your future projects as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aparna. And I wish you all the best as well.
Thank you. And thank you, dear audience, for being with us till now. We'll be back with another powerful global leader in some time. Stay tuned. If you think you are an elite performer and looking for exponential leadership, join us. For all information, visit gcpit.org. This is Aparna G. Kumar signing off. Stay safe and have a great day.